Welcome back to Clogged Garage, everyone. I got a fun one for you today. Today we're going to be changing out the old fuel filter housing in my 2001 LB7 Duramax GMC Sierra 3500 crew cab long bed dually. I'm going to be putting in this brand new one. So, let's go over why I'm doing this, because the fans of the channel knows that I just recently rebuilt my old housing and put that back in after it not being in my truck for about 2 years now. Well, when I found out when I put the old one back in, the fuel heater, which is the whole reason why I put it back in the first place, doesn't work. It's dead as a doornail. Even though I put a test light on the electrical connection itself, and I confirmed that there is power going to the fuel heater itself. The fuel heater just is not producing any heat. So found this one on the old Amazon for less than $100. Comes with everything you see here. Brand new housing. Everything's nice and bright and shiny. Hoses are facing the right direction. Comes with a brand new aluminum bleeder screw. That looks like it has a Teflon. Yeah, it looks like a Teflon washer instead of an O-ring. So that's already one upgrade that I see. Also comes with a brand new connection here for the electrical wires, and then comes with the filter and the water separator plug-in dealy schniggin there. And so far everything looks to be holding pretty good. Go ahead and pump it up for you. You can see that it's holding pressure. So we know it's holding pressure. Let's see, what else does this thing come with? I think that's all it comes with right there. Yeah, packaged well, didn't take long to get here, cost less than $100. So hell yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing started. So why am I running a fuel filter housing anyways when I already have a lift pump? The two big reasons are, out of an abundance of caution, I like the idea of having a filter right before it goes to my CP3. So all the bases are covered, from the lift pump all the way to the back of the truck to the engine. We got one more source of fuel filtration and water separation. The primary reason why I'm doing this is for that fuel heater. And fuel heating is pretty important when you live in cold areas like I do. I live in Alaska. It's cold more days than it's not, and my fuel is always cooling down. And when you have cold fuel going into a hot engine, or cold fuel going into a cold engine rather, it's not going to combust all the way, and you're just going to be dumping fuel out your tailpipe. And fuel's expensive now, guys. I don't know if you know that. So anything we can do to increase our fuel efficiency, we might as well give it a try. And this was less than $100 and comes with everything you need, so why the heck not? Now I already have a fuel heater in my lift pump towards the back of the truck, and that's going to send warm fuel or hot fuel up to the CP3, but I want to throw one more in there right in the engine bay right before it goes to the CP3, just to give that extra boost of heat. And these things kick on around 59 degrees, so if that fuel is below 59 degrees or cools down below 59 degrees en route, then this is going to give it one more blast of heat before sending it through to the engine. And I'm hoping that's going to increase my fuel efficiency. Now here where I live, in wintertime, we run #1 diesel, so we don't have the problem of gelling as much, but that's another reason why you would want to have a fuel heater, especially wintertime if you live somewhere cold, and if you're running #2 diesel, because that will tend to gel up your fuel filter. It has a waxy substance in there, and when it gets too cold, it'll clog up your element, fuel won't flow through, and your truck will die. And so my hopes are that with the 2 fuel heaters, I'll get that full combustion, because diesel fuel needs heat to burn. Go figure, right? How do we get that heat? Well, we get it through that extreme compression in a diesel engine. That creates heat. During a cold start, your glow plugs will create heat and heat up that cylinder chamber, as well as you have an air intake heater. And for an LB7, you have an air intake heater plug. For the later models, you have a grid, and I'm not sure if what they run in the L5Ps. But that will also send hot air into those cylinders to help warm everything up. And then lastly, you got a fuel heater to send hot fuel in there, because if you're spending all that time trying to heat up a cold engine, like instantly, and then you're throwing ice cold fuel back in there, especially if you live somewhere like here, if you live like anywhere where it's going to get down to freezing temperatures or below freezing or below zero, you know, you live somewhere where it's like -30, -40 degrees, you're sending ice cold fuel into your engine, and it's going to cool that down and kind of reverse everything that just went on with your glow plugs, your air intake heater. So this is another way to combat that. So I'm hoping that it works. And of course, you can also get a coolant block heater and a oil pan heater. And I have both of those, and those work great. If you plug them in, you know, for at least an hour and a half, 2 hours before you start your truck, it'll get things up to temp and it'll move that engine a little bit easier. So I'm going to give this a try. We'll see how it goes. And, you know, I know the complaints about these things. They really are crappy design, even though the theory behind it, the idea behind it, I think is solid. Got a filter up in the engine bay, you got a heater right before it goes to your engine. However, these things are held together by a few screws and O-rings and are subject to a lot of heat and a lot of pressure. And so heat on an O-ring is going to cook them over time. They get dried and shriveled up, and that pressure is just going to blast through them, and then these things suck up all kinds of air. So I'm hoping that this is a worthy investment. We'll see. It was less than $100. It looks nice. It has all the connections I need. It has a new fuel filter. I'm going to go ahead and give it a go. So let's go ahead and get to this. All right, here we are in the engine bay. Here's our original filter housing. It's the one that came with the truck, I believe. And as you can see, it's a pretty straightforward installation, or uninstallation in this case. So normally I'd slap a T20 on there and unloosen this and then pull that plug. But however, since the new one comes with a whole new harness, we're just going to unplug that right from the clip there. Alright, you can see them side by side here. You can see that they are the same part. Everything's the same size. Functions the same. These tubes are facing the same direction. I think in the LLY on up that still use these filter housings. The orientation changes a bit, so you can't toss those on your old LB17, or sorry, your old LB7. So you do have to get this kind, or you have to fork out a couple $100 and get the conversion kit, which you can do as well if you want. But I think this will do what we need it to do. Plugs are the same. I am going to go ahead and stab it back in place. and give it a try. Alright guys, last thing we gotta do is bleed it. I've already bled it because I was testing things out, making sure the electronics and everything work, but I'm going to show you how to do that anyways. So I have a lift pump on, so I'm just going to put my key into the accessory mode, which will activate the lift pump. You can hear that going. And if you haven't bled yours yet, when you crack open this screw, it's a 13 mil, a bunch of air will flow out in bubbles. Mine should just be fuel. You can see I got just pure fuel coming out. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten that back up. And that's good to go. And I do have power going to here. I just tested with the light. I'll show you that here in a second. Paper towel, something to clean this off. Good, soak up some of this fuel here. Okay, I got my handy dandy test light here. Got it plugged into the ground. Pop this. And we got light. So we're getting power there. Cover that back up. You're good to go. Alright guys, that's the job. That's how you remove this puppy and put in the new one. Super straightforward, as you know. Just a couple of bolts here, a plug-in. Bob's your uncle. I am pretty bummed that I, just rebuilt this one and the fuel heater doesn't work, but that's okay. I'm going to keep this guy around. And if I ever need to use it another day, or if I can snag another fuel heater, because they don't sell those things by themselves, then I'll do that. But otherwise, this will just hang out on the shelf until it is needed once again. That new filter housing was pretty sweet, less than $100. Came with everything you needed, including the filter. It looks really nice, and I like that they had the forethought to upgrade that O-ring to a Teflon washer. So it makes me wonder what else they upgraded in there. They said in the description that it has upgraded components, but I didn't actually take it apart to look at it. So who knows? Less than $100, doesn't leak. Everything seems to work. It was plug and play. 10 out of 10. I would recommend. So I'm gonna keep playing with these fuel heaters and run them for a little while and see the effects of fuel mileage and power and overall performance efficiency and everything. I did just take it out for a little rip around the block, and it seems to be holding just fine. It works. I can't speak to the fuel mileage yet, but I can say as soon as I started plugging in fuel heaters, I did get a nice boost in performance. Seems like the truck warms up quicker, and it wants to get up and go a lot faster. It has a little better throttle response with a hotter fuel being thrown in there. So that's pretty neat. One thing I would like to do and try to figure out, and maybe you guys can help me down in the comments, is do they sell a kit for the coolant hoses to go back to a fast lift pump? If so, let me know, because I can't find one. I'm not sure what sizes people are using, if they're making their own kits or what. I'd have to get in there and find out what size adapters to get, but I think that would be a pretty sweet choice as well. That way the fuel heaters aren't running constantly. We can just send some hot coolant back there and just keep those temps up, so the wintertime Alaskan cold weather driving strategy will be enhanced a little bit by doing that. I think overall fuel efficiency and mileage will help out quite a bit too with that those coolant lines going back. So that'd be 2 fuel heaters plus the coolant lines all heating up my fuel. I think that is just a good idea for where I live. Might not be necessary for everyone, depending on how close to the equator you live. If you live pretty close to the equator, I'm sure it's hot as hell, and heating up your fuel is not an issue, but keeping it cool enough or at that optimal temperature is probably more of an issue for you. But for me, it's cold as hell most days of the year, so I need all the help that I can get, and maybe some of you do as well. So, new one works great, and if you don't want to buy a new one and you just want to rebuild your old one because everything works, go check out that video. I think I paid less than $10 for an O-ring kit for this guy, and I don't feel bad about being out $6. I got to make a video out of it, got to show you guys how to do that as well. That was a nice little adventure. So depending on what you want to do, either rebuild your old housing or install a new one, I got a video for you. So that's what it's all about, guys. Let me do the work, let me spend the money, and I'll let you know how it goes and if it's worth it or not, and then you can decide what you want to do from there. That's the whole point of this channel, right? Get to help each other out. So hope you liked this video. Hope it helped you out in some way. Hope you found it entertaining. If you did, consider subscribing, sharing this with your friends, and feel free to check out the channel because we're always doing something around here. Alright guys, I gotta get back to it.